This is Minister Carnes. Welcome to another edition of Translation and Interpretation. One law for the native born and the foreigner. Forbidden marriages from Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 1 to 4. When Yah, your Almighty, brings you into the land that you are entering to take possession of it, and clears away many nations before you, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations more numerous and mightier than you. Here are the 7 nations: the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Notice that the Edomites, the Moabites, and the Ammonites are not listed among the 7 nations. And when Yah your Almighty gives them over to you, and you defeat them, then you must devote them to complete destruction. You shall make no covenant with them, and show no compassion to them. You shall not intermarry with them, giving your daughters to their sons, or taking their daughters for your sons. You shall not intermarry with the 7 nations: the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. For they would turn your sons away from following me to serve other deities. Then the anger of Yah would be kindled against you, and he would destroy you quickly. Noticing why is very important. The 7 nations would turn Yisrael from Yah, and then the wrath of Yah would come upon Yisrael. Now that we know the 7 nations Yisrael were not to marry, let us take a look at 1 Kings chapter 11, verses 1 and 2. Solomon, however, loved many foreign women besides Pharaoh's daughter: Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites. Notice that the foreign women are Pharaoh's daughter from Egypt: the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, and the Sidonians. These are not of the 7 nations that were forbidden to marry in Deuteronomy chapter 7. The Hittites are the only nation of the 7 forbidden nations in which Yisrael could not marry. Stay with me as we proceed to verse 2. They were from nations about which Yah had told the Israelites, "You must not intermarry with them, because they will surely turn your hearts after their deities." Nevertheless, Solomon held fast to them in love. The translators added to the text, "They were." This misinterpretation or text addition makes it seem as if the Ammonites, Moabites, and the Edomites are a part of the forbidden nations, but they are not. Here are 2 translation options for 1 Kings chapter 11, verses 1 and 2. Option number 1. Verse 2 should be a continuation of verse 1. Option number 2. If verse 2 is not a continuation of verse 1, then the term Hittites should be included in verse 2 rather than at the end of verse 1 for clarity and to avoid contradictions. Here is a better English translation of 1 Kings chapter 11, verses 1 and 2. Solomon, however, loved many foreign women besides Pharaoh's daughter: Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, Hittites from nations about which Yah had told the Israelites, "You must not intermarry with them, because they will surely turn your hearts after their deities." Nevertheless, Solomon held fast to them in love. Forbidden marriages and Nehemiah chapter 13. Let us begin by looking at Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 1. On that day they read from the book of Moses in the hearing of the people, and in it was found written that no Ammonite or Moabite should ever enter the assembly of the Almighty. The text states that the Ammonites and Moabites could not come into the assembly of Yisrael, but makes no mention of marriage to the Ammonites and Moabites. Get our lesson on "No Moabite and no Ammonite can come into the assembly of Yisrael" explained. Click the link in the description box. Let us skip to Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 23. In those days also I saw Yahudim who had married women of Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab, and half of their children spoke the language of Ashdod, and they could not speak the language of Yehudah, but spoke the language of various peoples. Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab are not a part of the forbidden marriages of Deuteronomy 7. And I contended with them, and cursed them, and beat some of the men, and pulled out their hair, and I made them take an oath in the name of the Almighty, saying, You shall not give your daughters to their sons, or take their daughters for your sons, or for yourselves. Notice what was said. I, meaning Nehemiah, made them take an oath. This is something that Nehemiah did or enforced, but this is not law as given by the Almighty. Did not King Solomon of Yisrael sin on account of such women? Among the many nations there was no king like him, and he was beloved by his Almighty, and the Almighty made him king over all Yisrael. Nevertheless, foreign women made even him to sin. Notice that all foreign women caused King Solomon to sin. Shall we then listen to you and do all this great evil and act treacherously against our Almighty by marrying foreign women? The evil for today is marriage to any foreign woman or man that turns us away from the Almighty. Here is the summary for this lesson. The theme is that we should never marry any foreign woman or man that turns our heart away from the Almighty. The Messiah has two foreign women in his genealogy, Ruth, a Moabite, and Naamah, an Ammonite. A foreigner today can be a Hebrew that do not know that he or she is a Hebrew. Marriage to others of a non-Hebrew persuasion. Even marriage to another Hebrew that does not practice validated and verified scriptural truths can also be an issue. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to receive updates on newly published videos.